Let's take a look at a two-wheel drive coil spring setup on the 2006 Chevrolet Cateye. Take a look at the two-wheel drive Cateye. Got a 4.8 Vortec V8 right here. Let's take a look at the passenger side on the Sylvie. All right, we got a lower ball joint right here. There's a grease fitting right here. Outer tie rod grease fitting right here. There's a grease fitting up here on the upper ball joint. Rack and pinion under here. There are no grease fittings on that. See what I'm talking about? The boot popping and it coming out. I see this all the time. Driver's side. So it's the driver's side, lower ball joint grease fitting right here. Tie rod grease fitting right here. Upper ball joint grease fitting right here. Silverado passenger side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on the drive shaft right here, I've seen this on some of them. We got a grease fitting up here. I believe there's a shaft in here, you know, splines, and it helps them slide back and forth. So here's a really good tip for you right here. This U-joint for the rear diff. It doesn't have a grease zerk on it right here from the factory for whatever reason. Get an aftermarket one. It's got a grease fitting on here. You know, you can grease them up. These, you got to wait till they break and replace it, or replace it before they break. You can't grease them like this from the factory, unfortunately. Same with that U-joint all the way up there. So if we take a look at the Avalanche drive shaft here, there's also no grease fitting. Grease zerk on the U-joint right here. So, you know, you can get an aftermarket one for this too. This has a different drive shaft. It's a one piece. It doesn't have that center support bearing, so there isn't a grease point in the middle of the truck up here like there is on the Silverado. That's a good upgrade for Avalanche too. Let's take a look at the rear. So on the rear axle of the Silverado, there is absolutely nothing to grease down here either. Same steering shaft right here. It goes down. I've already greased it. See, white lithium grease down in there. Doesn't have a grease fitting. Put some grease in there. And then the steering shaft, some guys modify it, put a grease fitting there because it needs lubrication in there. But sometimes I just pack it with grease if I can get some up in there. So between these two boys right here, they're both two-wheel drives, but this has got the 4x4 suspension setup. It's got the torsion bars up front. Then of course, you know, this is a Silverado, so it's got those coil springs up front. The grease points are a little bit different. Same idea though, those grease points need grease, get in there and grease them. So the torsion bar suspension setup is my favorite. I think it rides better, I think it's stronger. It's a whole nother video. It needs more grease. Two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, doesn't matter, needs more grease. Then the coil spring setup. Let's get the Pitman idler arms up there. You know, it's got that big old tie rod, whatever you want to call it, going through the suspension from end to end. It needs a lot of grease up in there, way more than the coil spring setup, but I think it's better. You use one of those electric ones, the battery powered ones that go they go and they squirt grease in there. You might get too much. It's better to do it by hand because it takes so little grease to fill these boots on these trucks. You put too much and you're really gonna pop the boots and squirt grease everywhere, and you got a big problem. So I just do it by hand, you know, with one of the hand pump ones. I use Lucas Red and Tanky. That's what I've used for years. Get in there, grease it up, lasts a long time, synthetic, you know. It really protects the ball joints and stuff like that. All right, y'all, that's it for the video. That's all the grease fittings. You know, this is for a two-wheel drive Silverado. Don't forget to drop me a huge thumbs up down below. Subscribe for more Chevy tips in the future. I'll check y'all on the next one. Later.